Welcome, everyone. Today, we are lucky to have the head of Twisted Comics on the show. Neil is going to be talking about their new series that they're working on called Dark Mirror. You may know it. It's from Netflix. It is an extension of the series on Netflix. Neil, thanks for joining us.
It's Black Mirror, not Dark
Black Mirror. God damn it. Why did I say Dark Mirror?
Maybe my biggest title is called Twisted Dark. I don't know. You're not the first person.
And that's it. I was looking at your stuff, and the Twisted Dark came into my head. All right, I'm going to reshoot that. Here we go. You ready?
No. Keep it in. It's great.
I do very little editing on interviews because I just like that it goes the way it goes, and it's an interview.
I thought you were lazy. That's why you did a little editing.
No, I did. Listen. I'll be honest with you. The way this channel works, I spend 90% of my free time editing videos.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, we do a lot of, we do 20 shorts a week, and we do 2 longs and live. So we do a lot of video on here.
Are you born and bred New Yorker?
Yeah, born and bred. That never lived a day out.
Yeah, because you said the way you said short, so it's like it was really.
It's funny. There was recently comments about how I say things, and people were commenting on I was saying things wrong, but I say things the way a New Yorker says things. I'm on Staten Island right now. I've been here my whole entire life. So my father was here his whole life. My grandfather, his grandfather.
Wow.
Like 5th generation. Yeah.
That's cool.
Been here a long time. So tell us about Twisted Comics, or actually tell us about Black Mirror. How did you get the Black Mirror license to start off with?
I think it was kind of luck, actually. I mean, I can't remember how, but it's like 7 years ago, I got in contact with a producer from Black Mirror who read my comics and asked me to send in pitches for TV episodes. And I was like, yeah, maybe I could write for the episodes. And they read them, and she said she liked them, but Charlie Brooker, who's the creator, wants to write them all himself, which is totally was right. But of course I was gutted, but yeah, that was fair. And then I had a new business partner since then who joined the company, and he pitched to just at the right time to the right person at who owned the rights to it, and they read my stuff, and they read some reviews online because a lot of people compare me to Black Mirror, not as good of course, but they compare me, and they thought, yeah, actually this guy can do it. So
and that's your Twisted Dark series.
That's Twisted Dark, and also The Theory.
Okay.
It was actually The Theory, which is a spin-off. It's actually, we didn't know whether to call it Twisted Sci-Fi or The Theory, but we actually took inspiration from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, because they spun off a character, but they called it something different and wanted to make it its own thing. So I thought, okay, let's try that. But a lot of people still call it Twisted Sci-Fi, so I don't know.
And how long have you been producing comics?
12 years now.
Really? And exclusively in England, or they're in the States as well?
No, they're in the States as well. Every year I do Seattle, Chicago, and New York Comic Con. Oh,
so you're going to be at New York this year?
Yeah, we'll be, yes.
Oh, we haven't missed one. I've been taking my youngest daughter since she was like 8 or 9, and she's 23 now. So we haven't missed one. Yeah, we go.
And you've not seen us.
She's missing this year because she got a job in Disney World, so she will not be at New York Comic Con this year for the first time.
Well, apart from the pandemic, I missed it once. I can't remember. I think my son was born or something. That's why.
Oh yeah, that's a good reason. so for Black Mirror, what do you have planned? I know you're starting off with one of the most popular ones, the USS Callista, and that actually had a sequel in this past season. So it's the only one that had a sequel, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Have you seen the sequel?
Yes, I have. I've seen every episode.
I thought the sequel was brilliant. They just
the way they wrapped it up was perfectly done.
Is it fully wrapped up though?
Nah, we'll see, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, I know that's the most popular one. I know it's the Star Trek connection and how everybody loves that. So it was great 2 episodes. So where is your comic taking off from there?
It's an adaptation of the first episode, and to start off with, we're adapting the most beloved episodes of Black Mirror. If the powers that be allow it, we'd love to make new episodes because that's what the fans all want.
Right.
Actually, what my dream scenario is that I'm sure Charlie Brooker has ideas that are too short for a full TV episode, but would be perfect for a 22-page comic book. And I'd love to hear his ideas and maybe make those stories.
So you're working very closely with the people who produce Black Mirror.
I'm working with the rights holders, but not with the creator Charlie. I haven't met him.
But he's writing them for
he's checking what we're making, but I have no contact with him.
Yeah.
Yes, he's too far up the chain. Hopefully, when he sees the comic and he's happy with it, we'll meet. But that's not. I have no power over that.
So what other episodes do you have planned besides USS Callista?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce it. It's because it's not. See, this is awkward. But when it's talking about my stuff, I can say whatever I like. Okay, right. But if it's someone else's things, I've got to be very careful and not, say things that could get me in trouble because it's not my brand.
Listen, so, I know how it goes. We've done many interviews before. We've actually had calls after our interview's done, and the person's like, "You cannot publish that. I will get in so much trouble. You can't say that I said that," and I have to go back and edit out something that someone says. So I fully understand that you can't reveal anything yet. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Thank you very much. I'm very good at getting myself in trouble all by myself. So,
right. But I mean, it's something that I know. I see a lot of people talking about Black Mirror as a comic book, that people are really anticipating it.
I hope so. We've done a lot of work behind it. It's what surprises me is people who are, because we're releasing behind the scenes things, how we make stuff, and people don't know how much thought and work goes into making a comic book. This is a podcast, right? This isn't a video, right?
Oh, it's a video. We're YouTube. Okay. I don't. We tried podcast and no one listened, and then we went to YouTube, and now we're almost at 10,000 viewers. So I don't. However that works. Yes, this is. You can show whatever you want to show. Okay,
so this is not for print, not for sale. This is just a sample, so we can it's a wraparound cover as well that we made as a gift to the rights holders. They can see it. But things that we did, like I'll show you the detail. So at the start, it's like Jack, because if you remember the episode, it goes back to like 1960s. Yeah, we did like Jack Kirby type artwork.
That looks just like Kirby art. Who's the artist?
This guy called Silvano Beltramo. And what's great is that so many things I don't have to say to him because he does it intuitively. Some things that are just really great. But the lettering as well. What we did was we used the actual font style that was used in the 1960s Star Trek comics. So we're that authentic about it. But we have it inside the game. Daly has all caps lock, whereas everyone else is lowercase because he's the boss in charge.
Right.
And then the guttering is all white. Then when we switch to the real world, the guttering goes black.
Oh.
And Daly, everyone has caps again, except Daly's is one size smaller. So literally has a smaller voice in the real world. Now, most people won't notice that, but it's the thought that goes into it that I like.
Right. And there will be people who notice it.
Yes, there are.
But not everyone will notice. But that's a great little detail that's really gonna I think have people going crazy for it. I really think it's gonna do well. It's such a well received show, and now to have it in comic book form is and in all honesty, the reason why you're on here is I saw the free comic book day issue you guys had, and I was like, this is definitely in my wheelhouse. This is what I like. We do interviews with a lot of independent companies because we like that they're doing something different, and doing Black Mirror as a comic book is the best of both worlds for me. It's like the 60s when they had that Twilight Zone comic book, and it's an extension of the show, but also hopefully at some point spreading away from the show, that we'll get some issues where it's just, craziness of Black Mirror.
As I said, I'd love to have Charlie's ideas like coming out in singles because my wife doesn't like short stories, but I love collections like Isaac Asimov or some horror writers with short stories because it's a short, sharp punch.
Yeah.
And what I would sometimes do is, I guess I'm a bad example of this low attention span generation. But when I was young, I used to love science fiction short stories, and I'd go through it and I'd pick which are the shortest ones, and I'd read them in the shortest orders. So I could, because I love being made to think, and my aim with my personal comics is I aim with every story to entertain, educate, surprise, and leave you thinking, because that's what I like to do. I like to have concept. I love reading science fiction books where I suddenly pause just to think about the concepts.
I love that. I love that too. And in terms of comic books, I've always loved limited series because I know I can start and finish it in a quick time frame.
Do you know what? That's why I stopped reading The Walking Dead, because I read that Robert Kirkman said, I'm going to keep writing for as long as
I did the same thing. I stopped after like 40 or 50. I was like, I can't do it anymore. It's just, But if but again, this is coming from someone who I collect everything from the 1960s on. Basically, I have running here. If I turned the camera around, you would see just there's comic books everywhere in my.
Well, look at my room.
I know. I see. It's funny because we've done a lot of these, and we've never had that. You're comparable to what we have behind you, so that's a good jump point. What got you into comic books, and how long have you been collecting and reading?
So I I read comic books when I was up to 9. Then my parents sent we lived in Saudi Arabia, so my parents sent me to boarding school back in the UK.
Okay.
And you were not allowed comic books. That was considered trash. And so I remember back when I was 13. But also most comics in the UK that originated there were aimed at a younger audience.
Right.
To be fair, I remember so it's something called the Beano, which I loved. At 9, I wasn't allowed to read it anymore, so that was sad. Then at 13, I remember going to a new school, and then someone had a copy. I read it, and it was terrible. It was actual real kid stuff. So I've grown out of comics. And then someone gave me some Spider-Man ones when I was 15 or something. I thought, oh, this is great. By the time I got to 18, all the story kind of seemed the same for me. Right. It was like he just manages to beat a villain. He tries just as hard as he can, and then another villain comes along who's even stronger. He struggles with that, and then it's just the same thing all the time. So I thought, okay, I'm done. I've grown up, in my opinion. And then after university, so I was 23, I think. I was backpacking around the world, and I was in Vancouver. I was living there for a while, and the film X-Men had just come out. It was the year 2000.
Okay. And
a friend of mine had a joke that he was Wolverine, and I walked past a shop, and there was a toy Wolverine in the shop. So I thought I'd buy it as a joke present. And at that point, this is in 2000, all the top writers were British. There was Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Garth Ennis, Warren Ellis. So they thought, they heard my accent, they thought I personally knew these people. And I said, I hadn't even heard of them. And they said, but you've read Watchmen, right? And I said, watch what? And they said, stay here. They went to the back of the shop and they got Watchmen and they said, buy this.
Okay.
It's such passion that I did. I remember feeling stupid walking out because I was backpacking. I had no money.
Right.
Spent $30 on a book just because someone said forcefully to buy it. But then I read it and it changed my life because I thought I had no idea how smart and intellectual and how comics could be and how it can make you think. And like the visual metaphors and the play on words, genius stuff. Right. So well,
it's funny how they've grown up. It's funny how you said like how they were very childish and the stories were very one-dimensional at a time. And now, and starting in the 80s, like you said, Watchmen, it really became it's literature now. It's great storytelling.
Yeah, well, not all of it is because
no.
Here's another problem actually, and this is a sad one. It's because now I make them, I become more critical about them. So there are a lot fewer comics I enjoy now.
So what do you like right now? What are you reading right now that you really like?
That's a good question. So I was reading Berserk, and okay, my problem with manga is that almost all of it can be cut in half. There's so much filler. But Berserk is a really interesting storyline. So I'm enjoying that. Best thing in the last 2 years, probably Girls by Image. But I'm reading one now. It might not be interesting to Americans, but it's I think it's called Chamberlain, and you probably don't know who Neville Chamberlain is, do you?
I do not.
No. So he was the prime minister just before Winston Churchill.
Okay.
And he negotiated with Hitler, and he was a decent man. And he said, I have this contract, this letter here as appeasement, so we'll not go to war again. And he was not strong enough, and he thought he could negotiate, and it didn't work. And this is the true story behind what actually happened, and it's easy to vilify him. It's like you weren't strong enough, but actually he was doing his damn best to avoid war and still believed in negotiating from a position of strength and rearming. But it's not as good as Mouse,
Okay.
but I get to learn something. It's entertaining, and it's history is a bit surprising, and it does leave me thinking. So it ticks all the boxes of what I want.
Okay. So do you ever get comics the same way we do here? Because I know we've interviewed a number of people from England, and back in the 80s, you didn't really get Marvel and DC comics back then. You got like these compilations that had mixes of stories in them. But nowadays you get everything that we get the same way, I would assume.
We do, but I mean, look, when I was back when I was 16 reading comic books, I'd get them to newsagents, the local stores, and they'd have their single floppy issues. But I haven't bought singles since I got back into in the year 2000, because I can buy I like trades, because I get a trade, I keep it on my shelf, I can see it, and it has all the stories in it. I don't like waiting a month for another installment. But also comic shops are slightly dying. There aren't as many here as there are in the US, and a lot of people unfortunately buy them on Amazon or something. I try to buy them from my local shop.
Yeah, I buy almost everything from us. We are surrounded by shops within probably like a 60-mile radius. There's probably, at last count, someone was telling me, probably like 60 something shops I could visit.
Wow.
So, we're actually running a series on our channel called Comic Shoporama. We hit in the last week. I was actually at a shop earlier today. Then the last week, I think we've been to 4 or 5 shops. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's
been years since I've been to 4 or 5 shops. That's amazing.
We're inundated with shops, and there's new shops popping up.
That's amazing. I thought they were all closing down. That's great. That's great.
No. There's one part. I'm in Staten Island, and there's one part of Jersey that we visited about a month ago, and one guy has been there since like 1983. It's the place called Frankenstein Comics, and he told us that there are 40 comics in a loop if we wanted to visit them. The most he's done in one day was 17. So you can visit 40 within, 30 miles or so of each other. You visit a loop of 40 different comic shops. And that amazed me. And that's just one section of where we are. The rest, it's, I believe that where I am right now is like the hot spot for comic books. We have a convention every weekend, small conventions. We have a big convention like once every month or two. It's a huge comic book area where I am right now. Right outside of where New York Comic Con is. So New Jersey has a ton. There's some in the other boroughs of New York have these small conventions that, are frequented by a diehard group of fans.
It's very cool.
Very costly is probably the better.
Yeah, but I'm jealous because that's what I used to love doing. Is I used to go into comic shops and ask people for recommendations, and unfortunately, it got to a point where I had everything that they were recommending. Right.
No, I have 2 recommendations for you. One was probably my favorite comic of the year last year, The Pedestrian. It's It's produced by Mad Cave. It's a writer and an artist who have actually become friends of ours since we had them on before the comic even hit shelves, and it went nuclear. It did so well. It's a very different story of a superhero who is like the opposite of the Flash. So he walks like a pedestrian and he protects his town. And the other one is, have you ever heard of Tony Fleecs?
Yes.
Tony Fleecs is writing the sequel to Stray Dogs is called Feral. It's about a zombie holocaust from the eyes of a bunch of Disney-esque cats.
Oh, that's awesome. So I have Stray Dogs up here, actually.
Yeah, he did the sequel to Stray Dogs. It's called Feral. It's him.
This is alphabetical, so yeah, I have it.
Yeah, it's him. It's that. It's actually, but you can see how Tony's improved as a writer and as a storyteller, and he's actually now writing The Thing for Marvel. So based on how successful those 2 series have been, he's writing his other story, Uncanny Valley, is his other thing at Image.
Okay. Do you recommend that one?
Yeah. That's huge. That one it sells like crazy. Everybody loves it. But Tony tells really good, not deep horror, but horror enough, I guess.
So I was actually last weekend. I was at a Comic Con in London Film Comic Con, and I was on a panel about horror, and I was there with Mike Carey, and he doesn't think he does horror, and I don't think I do horror either. But a lot of critics say I write horror, and I actually had to Google it because I'm on a panel about horror, so I should know what I'm talking about. And apparently, horror, one of the definitions is a feeling of unease, uncomfortableness. I thought, well, actually, I do write that, but mine's more psychological than monsters.
That's horror though, but it doesn't have to be monsters. It's the way you
Yeah,
make me feel as a reader. And I think horror is making a huge comeback in comic books right now. I think some of the best comics out there are horror related comics.
and that's Black Mirror, I guess. I didn't really
Oh,
classify
absolutely.
it as horror, but
Black Mirror is horror. And some episodes are more than other episodes.
yeah.
So you're a horror writer. There you go.
Oh yeah, but I never. People, I've just always rejected it because I'll tell you one thing as well. I love horror books and comics.
Right.
I hate horror films.
See, it depends on how you define horror films. Like I am a strong opposition of slash movies. I hate slash movies. I have never seen a slash movie that I like. But if you put Universal monsters in a movie, I'll watch every single one you produce.
Universal monsters. What do you mean?
Vampires, werewolves,
Okay.
anything from the Universal monsters that come from Dracula, the werewolf, Frankenstein, anything
Okay.
that comes out of that, I some of my favorite movies are those. But if you put a slasher movie, never.
Yeah, I've no interest in slasher movies either. But the thing is, okay, the main thing for me is I don't like being scared.
Okay.
I saw The Ring when I was living in Houston during the daytime, right in the city. If I saw that alone at night in the countryside, I would have died. Right? I'm sorry. It was terrifying for me watching that. And that's with friends. So no, I don't like it.
Well, I'll give you a kicker with The Ring. My cousin's actually in The Ring. She played the nurse in The Ring.
Well, now I like you slightly less.
Yeah, my cousin. I have a cousin who's an actor. Her and husband are actors, an actor and actress, and that's one of the few films she was in. And I watched it because my cousin was in it. So, I mean, I didn't.
Did you find it scary?
No, those kind
Oh
of
wow!
no, those kind of movies don't really scare me. Like you said, your whole thing psychological. That's what scares me. The possibility of what could happen terrifies me at this point. I guess as I'm getting older, I get more and more afraid of that. The possibility of what could happen.
I was at New York Comic Con several years ago, and a woman. I said, read a story at random. And she picked up volume 3 of Twisted Dark and she read a story at random. And she got to the last page and then she screamed and looked at me and she showed me her arm and all the hairs were standing up.
That's what you want, though. That's success, isn't it?
Yes, normally you don't want to be someone who makes women scared, but that was in that situation. I was happy.
So it looks like you collect a lot of manga. Is that
No, the manga is just that.
okay?
Everything else is Western comics, which I prefer.
So
Because I do like some manga, but honestly, for me, almost all of it can be cut in half. It's just filler.
yeah,
Which
I don't read any. So I'm sorry if I offend anybody out there, but I don't read any.
The one I would recommend out of all the manga I've ever read is this unusual one here called Antique Bakery.
Okay.
This one is it's about a guy who runs a bakery shop, right? And all the furniture is antique and the cutlery and everything and the crockery. But why he created this is because some deep-rooted psychological issues that happened to him when he was younger, and it's sort of mystery revolved around it. So it has this lightness to it, but also has some real human insight. And then you have these dark moments which come from nowhere, and realize it's all because of these dark moments. Like, whoa! And each character has had some dark, but on the surface, it's all quite light, and it's so much about food as well. I do recommend it.
Thank you. I've never had a recommendation, a manga recommendation, so there you go. I could start reading manga like I don't read 1,000 other things.
I mean, I'm just. Is this? Am I allowed to swear on this channel or not?
Well, yes, of course you are.
Okay, because I'm just going to quickly go. Just because I like this, I haven't read this for several years, but the opening scene, and what's genius is it comes back to this scene way later on, and you see just what happens 2 minutes earlier, and it changes the whole perspective.
Right.
But this is what do you want to talk to me about? I love you. This is two schoolboys.
Okay.
And it's like, and he rabbits about like, sorry, I don't want to stress you out, and leaves. And the guy goes, are you dissatisfied saying you love me? Okay. Don't you want to sleep with me? And the guy's surprised because he's the only gay one he knows.
Right.
He talks about it. And then the guy says, I'm so grossed out with you. It makes me want to puke. I hope you hurry up and die, homo.
Oh,
And yeah, and it's like whoa, and that's the opening scene, and then the effect that happens and it kicks things off the whole
and
story.
that's what the story's based around that.
No, it's not.
Oh,
That's just one sliver of it. It's
okay.
and like and the real thing it's about is hidden, but it's always there and it's revealed at the end.
Interesting. So would you say is manga any influence on your writing at all or no?
No, you know what? This is what's really interesting is that I don't think I'm influenced by any writers,
Okay.
which is sounds weird to say because no one else seems to say that, but I don't. What inspires me is one of three things. It's either a fact I didn't know, an interesting conversation, to about something I'm not where there. It's a complex issue,
Right.
or oh, that would be a good twist. One of those. That all my stories come from one of those three things.
Now, so when you were younger reading, who did you really like to read? Like who were your, your favorite writers or
In terms of books or comics,
comics?
Alan Moore, because it was Watchmen, and I read everything.
So to start with the Watchmen, you go from there.
Yeah, yeah, and then I read Mouse. I read the first Neil Gaiman I read. I didn't like it. It was Black Orchid.
Okay.
But then I read Sandman and thought that was amazing. And I'd limit my purchases. I was living in Texas, and I'd drive to the comic store and I'd buy just one volume because I knew I'd finish it and I'd read it a second time, maybe a third before I go back to buy the next volume
Right.
because I knew it that much. And then pretty much anything by Vertigo. So I found out I was on a call with Kickstarter yesterday. I didn't know that Vertigo rebooted.
Oh, really?
I,
I didn't know that either.
yeah, there you go, right? But I got so excited because Karen Berger and Shelley Bond. They're why I make comics because almost everything from the early Vertigo days I loved.
What are they putting? What do they have coming out though? What are they putting out?
I don't know. Only found out yesterday. I haven't researched it yet, but it's just the brand I loved because that's what I want my company to be. I want anyone who's anything by Twisted Comics. It's good because I believe that, but then I am biased.
Of course. So you have a bunch of titles though, right? That you produce right now?
24 graphic novels, I think.
Okay. So you do it's all graphic novels, no monthlies, right?
No, we're changing. We're going to start doing monthlies because it fits the market. But I start off just because this is how I consume. I don't buy singles, but I'm not the entire market, so
Right.
I have to be more commercial about it.
See,
So
I don't buy any trades or graphic novels. I only buy monthlies.
fascinating. Why?
That's just how I grew up, and I actually am buying I buy all the stuff that I missed when I was a kid, the stuff that I read. Like this is a run of Master of Kung Fu sitting on one side. On the other side over here is a run of Shogun Warriors. So I do not buy. I guess it's dollars and cents that I have a certain amount of money that I can spend on comic books, and they all go to, the regular monthlies. Which I know that's odd, and I know it's funny. Usually when we do most of our videos, I have a partner who I'm with. That's the name that you see there is Brian. That's Brian. Brian only buys graphic novels, and I only buy monthlies.
That's a good combination then.
Yeah,
Good
and he actually reads a lot of stuff online where I refuse to read anything online.
I've tried it, but I get enough screen time anyway. I want to have a physical copy of the book.
I like to have a physical copy and I read a lot in bed, so I'll read an issue or two in bed. I couldn't even imagine pulling out an iPad and reading. I think that's
no, that's bad. You want screens in bed.
It's awful in my opinion, and there's people out there who that's how they consume, but I refuse to consume that way.
But I know I have a friend and she prefers singles because it just holds in your palm.
Yeah,
it's easy each page. Whereas a graphic novel, you have to use two hands. You can't just use one.
I have always read that way. I will probably always read that way. I don't like not getting a monthly in my hand. And I'm talking not only talking like I buy a ton of comics every month. I'm talking about like old stuff too. I buy all my old stuff as monthlies where I could easily go and get Master Kung Fu at one shot and get the whole run. But to me, that's not fun. That's not
collecting. And it's not collecting either.
Not collecting. You know,
Well,
and
I'm not a collector. I don't care if my books are
it looks like
secondhand.
you are.
Well, I don't care if they're damaged or secondhand because I'm
Me
there for
neither.
the stories.
I have there's no concern for like the way it is. Like if I can get like right now, I'm trying to finish the run of Fantastic Four, so I'm collecting everything under 100 as much as I can, and the condition is of no concern.
Whoa. The original first 100
Yeah.
issues.
Mhm.
That's expensive.
I picked up actually four today. Yeah, this is
So I just realized this is my chance to promote my material, but it's just far more interesting talking to you
yeah,
than it
I'm
is talking
sorry.
and promoting my
I
own
don't know if
stuff.
that's what people want to see, but yes, and that's why I said when I said earlier, you never know where the conversation goes. We learned something from each other.
Yeah, I know, but this is much more fun. So I don't care.
It's again, you asked before if it was a podcast or it was video. It's like a video podcast because there really is I think there's no structure to what we're saying here. But promote, promote. You want to promote?
I don't care anymore.
No, I do because that's why I have you on here. So, what else should people be reading from Twisted Comics right now? So, Black Mirror is going to take you, I would say, to the next level, some identifiable that people are going to know before it even hits shelves. What else should they be picking up right now from Twisted Comics? Or should they be telling their comic shop to? How are you shipping? And I know there's a whole bunch of craziness going on with shipping and how things are being distributed in the States. How are you distributing Twisted Comics in the States?
Well, we were with Diamond,
Uh,
but we don't really know yet. We have a meeting tomorrow with a new distributor, which I'm sure you know of. So we have a choice between two, and that's if they pick us because it's
Luna?
everyone's. Sorry,
Luna?
yeah, it's Lunar and Penguin Random House.
Okay.
And it's another, yeah. Anyway, so we hope they take us because we need distribution. Otherwise, we're just reliant on Amazon, which
Right.
is not something particularly.
No, you want to be in comic shops.
Yeah, I want to be in a comic shop. I mean, it's weird because these small pockets like this. I think it's called Infinite Mushroom in Florida, where we sell a lot. Like, then there's a section for us because the guys who work there say you should buy this stuff, and so we sell a load there.
What's the name of the shop?
I think it's Infinite Mushroom. I can't remember exactly, but we have pockets of a few stores because the people who work there have read our stuff and they promote it, and then everyone buys it.
And that's the great thing about a comic store is that you get one person
Yes.
who likes your stuff, and they'll say to everybody that comes in, "You should be reading this right now," and people will listen to them every single time.
Exactly. So, but look, the question is, what should they read? Well, our stuff is not. I believe comics are for everyone. There is a comic that everyone will enjoy. And some people say, I don't read books. Well, I think you haven't found the right book. There is a comic,
100%.
but my stuff is not for everyone. My stuff is if you like dark, if you like to be made to think. Like some people just want to have like cool action shots with great colors and sexy characters. That's cool. That's not what I do. I make you think, and I make you. I try to educate as well about things. That's so. If you like Black Mirror, you probably like my biggest title, which is Twisted Dark or The
Right.
Theory. The Theory is actually what got us the gig because they read half of that book and thought this guy gets it. This is the guy we want to make the series.
And they contacted you, so Black Mirror comes.
No. My business partner contacted them,
Okay, but they knew of you.
not the decision maker. So the Black Mirror TV producer before knew of me, but then what happened was the rights were so complicated. That's what you've not seen any Black Mirror merchandise, have you?
No, nothing.
Because the rights were so complicated. It was tied up between Charlie Brooker, Endemol, Zeppotron, Channel 4, and then Netflix. And so it was like, who gets... And then they finally, last year, consolidated it all with one rights owner. And the person who was in charge of that, we had a contact who was friends with him, and we pitched it to this contact, and he sent it across, and we were just the right place at the right time. It was just luck. And they read the stuff, and I think you kind of make your own luck as well, because the critics had compared me to Black Mirror for years, and that's how it happened. But no, they didn't approach us. No.
See, and that's it's interesting that you say that because when I first saw that Free Comic Day comic, I was like, wow, this is the first non-TV related Black Mirror item. Like, there's nothing out there related to Black Mirror, where I believe there should be much more.
I think there will be much more coming soon.
Okay. That's I guess good thing. I mean, it's comparable to the Twilight Zone, so it's a modern day Twilight Zone in my and in most people's, assumption of what it is, analysis of what it is, right?
I agree. I agree.
It's a modern day version of, how those twists and turns and how modern technology has really taken us to a different level.
Yeah, it's funny that I saw an interview with him. Actually, and what happened was he had an idea for a story, and his producer said, "We need to write this now because this will actually become reality within a year. So we need to have this like now."
And you can see a lot of them being that. A lot of his stories could be reality within a couple of years.
Yeah, but hers was like, "This is going to happen very soon. So if you're going to make this a story, we have to get on it now."
Interesting.
And just so yeah, I thought exactly the same word, interesting, because that's how it works. So it's also, I guess, like how in film sometimes people have the same idea at the same time, like Deep Impact and
Yeah.
Or Mission to Mars.
It's the perfect comparison right there. That they come out within a couple of weeks of each other, right?
Yeah.
And then they're exactly the same movies, but made completely by different, not knowing that
Like Wide Open Tombstone. Like
right. It happens all the time. So now, with Twisted Dark, any chance you're optioning that for anything?
Well, we met the head of Amazon Studios, and they were interested. But if two things happened: the writer strike happened, and also I didn't like the showrunner.
Okay.
So that fell through. But now we have a different producer who's very keen on it, and once, okay. So she wants a different take on it, and it actually makes sense to me. But the original producer I had, he didn't share my vision at all. And I thought, well, this producer's interested. Like, he has a track record.
Right.
I'll follow his lead. If they have to change it for TV, fine. But this new producer asked me, "No, what is your vision?" And I told him, "Neil, that's great, but you're not going to get it.
Okay.
Because you're not a name yet. You need to get something, become famous, and then when you have power, then you can make your vision, which is really cool." And I'll tell you the vision. I want to do something that's never been done before on TV. Okay. This is, if you go back 20 years ago, video games, it was all very linear, the storyline. Mm-hmm. And now it's all open world. You can do what you like and have side quests and everything. So I don't like choose your own adventures because I want to know what the other options were. Right. So I personally don't really enjoy them. And also, I don't play them correctly because my wife is like, "Neil, this is your one chance to be someone different." But I still choose what I would do because that's what I want to see what the result is. So what I've done is I've got this. I can show you the matrix. It's massive. It's like 120 recurring characters, right. And then there's like 300 stories and how each character interacts with each other. Okay, and then you can click macros I've made, which changes the story, so it rearranges it to chronological order, or length of story, or just this character, or highest rated one. And so you start off by giving people the first episode, and a few episodes in, then suddenly the interface changes, and then you can go with a default, which I think 80% of people will do. Right. Or you can go, actually, no, I want to go watch that episode. And then everyone's path starts to diverge after a while. And if you watched, when I was young, I read a book called Cain and Abel by Jeffrey Archer. Okay. And it was kind of similar to Game of Thrones with Arya. Because whenever it would cut away from her, I was like, "No, I want to know what happens to her. Like, I want to know what happened." Or right. It was two characters, and the chapter would end, and switch to the other character. No. And I would skip the other chapter and just read the one I wanted to read, and then I'd go back and read the other one. And I wanted to give that option to other people, so they can read, "Oh, this character's great, but it's moved on." But no, if you want to carry on, you can. And so people can have just their favorite characters. Or
everyone's story would be different. I would see it differently than anyone else would see it.
Exactly. And then you have hidden episodes which are locked, which only if you've seen a certain ones you can watch. And so it becomes a game as well as to what percentage you have, which people don't know. Everyone I've spoken to who's not working in TV goes, "This is so cool. And I actually have the model already. Right. Built. I know which order the stories will be there." Everyone who works in TV goes, "That's never been done before. It can't be done."
Yeah, but if it's never been done before, one, doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't be done. And two, it sounds like your model gets people watching way more than they normally would. So I would watch episode. Now I'm watching episode, diverge. Wait, I want to see how this character goes, but now I want to see how this character goes.
And it's more than that as well, because sorry, I get excited because you get it.
Right.
Because also you can just have some episodes that aren't on. You can have on some episodes just on YouTube or other places that they just link in. Oh, I like this. Then you can go into the main series. And how I structure it as well is the opening scene. If I'll tell you if you're interested, because
I'm very interested, because it's not, because when you said one thing too, that hidden stuff. So I know that's huge. Like, if I have to do this to get that hidden one, and most people aren't seeing it, but I can. That interests me more than I can explain. Like,
okay. Well, so where I'd start the series is actually volume 7 of Twisted Dark, which is season 2. And because all the characters that went to prison in the first season are now in the same prison, and season 2 starts with a prison break. And I'll tell you the story. I'm meant to be promoting Black Mirror. I'm talking about this.
You're talking about your old stuff. And we have to set a premiere for next Tuesday of this episode. I think you guys might be joining us on, like, it's going to be premiering next week. So,
okay, great. Well, I'll tell you the opening episode. So it's. And maybe my producer, the new producer, will shoot me for saying, "Neil, what are you doing?" But I'll do it anyway. I don't mind doing this for my stuff, because I can get in trouble. I don't care. But if I get in trouble with Black Mirror, I'm not. It's not my property. So, so the opening is a guard by a prison, and he's playing on his phone. He's playing Breakout, the old Atari game.
Yep.
Okay, a little like a verbal metaphor, thanks to Alan Moore. And then he looks up and he sees a convoy with little dust clouds going off in the distance, the car. And he looks back down at his game. And it cuts to the wheel of one of those convoys. It's a heavy machinery. It's a bulldozer. And you see the wheel spinning. And then it turns and starts heading towards the prison, off the road, onto the dirt track, onto the dirt. And he looks up and sees all that stuff. And he sees all these vehicles moving towards him. So he stands up, like, a bit concerned. Cuts back to the wheel, and suddenly you feel the power. And it starts to accelerate.
Right.
And you're like, oh shit. And he goes, "Control, I think we've got a problem here." Control? And there's no response. He hits an alarm. The alarm doesn't go off. He looks behind him, and he sees part of the prison's on smoke. And he goes, oh shit. He grabs his rifle, and there's nothing he can do. And these bulldozers all slam through the barbed wire, everything, into the side of the building. Then the drivers take out these dazzlers, which are high-powered lasers, and they just shoot towards any guards they see, and the guards are just blinded. They're not hurt, but they can't do anything. And then they take out red canister, blue canister, and spray this foam over the heavy machinery. And then they drop them, and they shout, "Phase 2," and they run away. Meanwhile, the guards, the prisoner starts to come out through the rubble. One guy looks up and sees one of the bulldozers and sees the name of the construction company and says, "Dad?" And he looks up, and now 9 town cars have arrived. It's like a Tarantino film, all wearing suits.
Right.
They have these big names: Ian Chapman, Mark Cole, Rajiv Kuti. And he runs up to him and says, "That's me." "Well, get in, sir," the guy says, opening the door for him. Someone else runs up and says, "That's me." "Funny, you don't look like your photo." Takes out a taser, tasers him, kicks him in the head, waits for the real guy to arrive. Someone else comes up and says, "Oh, that's me." "Oh, excellent." Takes out a gun, shoots him in the head, shoots him 3 times in the chest, turns the board around with a different name, where someone else to come in. One of the prisoner comes out, sees what's going on, goes, "Hell no," runs back inside the prison. It's pandemonium. No one knows what's going on. There's more stuff happening. Eventually, there's not only 7 cars drive off in different directions. Other people are trying to escape on foot. And it cuts to each person in each car, and they'll say, "Who's organized this? What's going on?" And then smash cut to the Twisted Dark logo. And the opening sequence starts.
And that's just the opening.
That's just the opening. And this is where it gets fun. Now it gets fun. Because what happens is, every episode, or even part of the episode, it takes place as to one of those characters, where they're being taken, and what happens along the way. Then a flashback to what they did to get into prison.
Okay.
And then back to the present, ending on a cliffhanger. Now, that center story is from the comic books, absolutely adapted, right? And that center story is completely standalone. But those forward and end bits later on in the future, they can combine, and that's a slight episode in itself. Right. So you have all these different episodes people can read in different ways.
And you've pitched this already, or no?
I've not pitched it to anyone of significance, because all the producer I had before said, "That will never work. Just don't do it. Don't think about it." Well, I'm thinking, well, you know what? It's never been done before. There's so much content now. Let's lean into this. Twisted Dark is different. Let's lean into that. Make it something exciting. But I need to find the right person who has the vision for it. And you're really, I'm talking too much. Sorry.
No, absolutely not. This is how I want interviews to go. I should not be talking as much as the person I'm interviewing is talking.
Well, I remember reading it didn't do very well, but it was with HBO. Is Sharon Stone's story where it was all story different. You could read it in any order, watch it in any order,
Right.
and it was snippets to find out what happened. And the guy, it was Steven Soderbergh as well. It was the guy who made it, I think. But the guy who pitched it at the HBO office, and the guy blocked the door and said, "You're not leaving this room until we make a deal," because he wanted that much.
Right.
He got the concept. Now that one didn't work for whatever reasons. I think mine could work, but I need to be in the room with the right person, and also show videos. I have fan reaction videos of people just geeking out over the content.
I mean, it sounds groundbreaking. But that's hard to sell sometimes, right? That's hard to sell sometimes. Groundbreaking, hard to sell. And but you have a back catalog already with the Twisted Dark.
Yeah, I've got 1,600 pages.
Wow. How many graphic novels are there? Twisted Dark?
8. They're 200 pages each.
8. And you have any more coming soon?
Oh yeah, I've the amount of stuff I've got written. If I showed you, you'd be because ideas. I'm really geeking out here. So
that's what I love about this show.
Ideas are not a problem for me. Like a lot of writers, I guess. It's just picking the right ones. And I have a problem that I slightly George R. R. Martin it, because I come up with an idea for a good story, but does it fit in with the main plot line?
Right.
And if it doesn't, well, I just shelve it, put it to the side. But I have so many of them. I'm just quickly going to show you how I believe in stories. This is my model. This is, for comics, you need 6 things. You need a premise, you need great writing, you need great art, you need great coloring, you need great lettering, and you need good editing. Right. Those are 6 things just for the content creation. Then you have the marketing, distribution, and that's, other
that's
stuff.
a whole other thing. Yeah.
But just the writing side alone, I think there are 5 elements to it. I think it's like this. It's my trademark model. So, imagine if you're watching TV, this pre-Netflix days, right? Just flicking through the channels. If you ignore the visuals, because some visuals it looks crap, whatever, the first thing you notice is the dialogue. If the dialogue is stupid or boring, you change channels, right?
Absolutely.
The next is the plot or genre. Oh, it's horror? I'm not interested. Oh, it's an action film I want to watch. Oh, it's a romantic comedy I want. Oh, it's a western, whatever. The plot or genre. The next is the characters. This is why I come back week after week, because I fancy this character. This character is fascinating. This character is horrible. What will I do next? And then this is why people dress up as a Night's Watch or stormtroopers. Just the universe that's created.
Yeah.
Now, even if you have all that, it's like having the best joke in the world. Some people know how to tell it, some people don't. So you need to have storytelling. Now, best stuff, in my opinion, let's take Game of Thrones, because I love that, right? That's amazing dialogue. Like, I drink and I do things. Winter is coming. You can put it on T-shirts, right?
Right.
The plot is phenomenal, right? And it's in the fantasy genre, but it's an amazing plot. Characters so complex, so diverse.
Yeah, that's why I come back every week.
And the universe is so rich, amazing, and told so well. And I mark everything on my scale on a -1 for bad, 0 for average, 1 for good, 2 for great. Okay. That gets a 10 out of 10, like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Me on my best days, my best work, in my honest opinion, I get a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
I have an average universe, average characters, great plot, great storytelling, and good dialogue. And I like to work with other writers who are all about world building or about characters. And the best thing I want to say is, like, I don't think the character would say that. That's what I want to hear. Okay, what would they say? How would they behave? Because some writers like Brian Michael Bendis, all his characters pretty much sound the same.
Yeah.
And mine don't really, but they do. They do. I'm being harsh on myself, but it's true. So, why am I telling you all this? I forgot my whole point of this story.
Because when you pitch it and how you're pitching it and how you're selling it to
so fine. So I don't have any shame about where my strengths and weaknesses are. I have a lot of people who love what I do,
right?
But I'm honest. These are my strengths. So if I can work with other people, we can fill in the gaps and make it better in other areas.
Now with Twisted Comics, you're writing everything for them? Well, no,
not everything. Because it's funny. I'm a good writer, but my real strength is editing, taking good stuff and making it great. That's what I enjoy the most.
So what's your role your full role at Twisted Comics? You're everything? Are you? It's your
No, no,
company, right? It's your company.
it's my company, but then we have like Kenny's in charge of like because of him we got Black Mirror, we got these other things coming,
Right.
which I can talk about, which are very exciting as well, by the way. So his job is deal making and investments, and we have someone in charge of marketing. We've got someone in charge of distribution. We have someone in charge of conventions. I want to do less and less admin stuff, and just more focus on. I actually want to be chief creative officer and not CEO. I want to let someone else do that. I ideally want some young, smart university graduate who's hungry for this stuff to do that.
So you don't want to do the Hollywood thing then?
I do, but
Because we interviewed a while back the guy who created Boom Studios.
okay.
Rick Ross is the guy who created Boom Studios. We interviewed him after he had sold the company. So he is retired. He's not doing comics anymore. And you know Boom Studios, right? So
Yeah.
you know that they had a lot of properties, right? So they had a lot of Hollywood properties. And he told stories about how it was his company. He was the face of the company and he did a lot of other stuff. And a lot of his time was spent sitting with celebrities, sitting with Gene Simmons of Kiss, sitting with, all of these celebrities that came to him. And it sounds very similar to what he did at the beginning, what you're looking to do now. You want to build something bigger than a couple of graphic novels. You want to be
Oh yeah.
bigger than that. And the reason why I'm making a comparison is the beginning for you is Black Mirror. Black Mirror is your first licensed project. Where Boom Studios, I don't know how well you know the company, they did Escape from New York was one of their properties. Big Trouble in Little China. They had all of these Hollywood blockbusters, and they were converting them into their universe and making them their own. And he was very successful on it. Boom is probably the best at doing that. So that's to me, from the outside looking in, you're doing a lot for I don't understand do you sleep? Like, is there a time like when you actually stop?
I do sleep. Don't work as hard as I used to. So my wife is an investment banker. So when I used to be a management consultant. I used to fly around the world helping companies improve the bottom line. And the idea for my first story was when I was working in Qatar, Middle East. Normally you work till 10 every night.
Right.
It's long hours, but that one project I was done back in the hotel by 7. So all this free time. My friends and family are back in the UK.
Right.
I thought I'd try, and I love good comics, so I thought I'd try making one. So Twist Dark was just a hobby I did in my free time, and so I go off and.
So that's how it got started. That's how Twisted Comic got started in your free time from your other real life.
So what happened was I looked out the window because I was in this skyscraper in Qatar. It's all brand new. The entire city's on reclaimed land, and I'm in a suit. I press a button on this phone on the table, and some guy comes to take my order for drinks, for tea. And I look out the window, and there's Indian laborers working 50 degrees Celsius like slaves. And I thought the only difference between us really is where I was born.
Right.
And I thought that was just so unfair. And that was an idea for a story of mine. That's what's in Twisted Dark. And from the idea of that first story to having the 200-page book in my hands printed was 9 months. I wrote all the stories, got it illustrated and printed and everything. And I did everything. I did the lettering, and it looks... Actually, I have it here. It's awful. There's... So because I didn't know what I was doing. I used A4 size rather than... This is like the right size now, right? So it was the wrong size big.
So that's the first volume that you did. You wrote on your own. Who did the art in the first volume?
Team of artists from around the world. I got screwed a few times. I learned how to deal with artists as well. Okay. And also, I didn't know how much to pay them at the start, so I didn't know what the rate. But look at this lettering. Look how terrible it is.
And that's who did the lettering? You did the lettering.
I did the lettering using Comic Life, free software in Apple.
Right.
And I even used the lettering to make the page numbers at the bottom. I used the lettering balloons. It was awful, but I had to start somewhere.
Right.
And what surprised me was the critical reviews were really positive. I was ready for an evisceration. But
you self-published too, right?
Yeah, I did. I put it out, and within 1 year, it went to number 1 on Amazon in the UK.
Really?
Yeah.
Self-published from someone who had never written comic books before?
No.
And that was 12 years ago. So here we are 12 years later. You have your first license, right? Your first licensed product, right?
Yeah.
Is Black Mirror. And now you're looking to expand and become.
We're talking to a few other properties about licensing their material, and what's great is that because I know my strengths, I use other writers, and I can just make sure the plot is good, and I can utilize their. I spoke to. I'm not allowed to say actually. Some famous musicians today about making a story with them, and some other stuff we're working on.
It's funny you say musician. We did an interview with Matthew Rosenberg, the writer, and he was working on a comic book version of the Wu-Tang Clan. You know who the Wu-Tang Clan is?
Yeah,
Rappers. They're from Staten Island, so like
okay.
went to high school with one or two of them.
Cool.
He told a story about he was working with the RZA, and the way the RZA conducted business is, and it's just a funny story, is he sat with the writer of this comic book, and there were 6 other people in the room. There was a guy who was making his headphones, the guy who was doing his album, there was a marketing guy and a publicist guy, and he would go around the room and go, okay, tell me your pitch. You tell me yours. You tell me yours. And he would do this for an hour straight with 6 people doing 6 different projects at one time.
Wow.
And I was like that. And to me, it sticks out of my head still saying, when I talk to someone like you, who you have your hand in so many different things, that's how I envision the way you are. Like, okay, wait, go ahead, give me this. I'm writing this. I'm doing this. I'm editing this. I'm publishing this. I have to talk to this guy about a licensing. And that's just, I think it's a certain kind of person who is like that, who can do multiple things at one time.
It's funny because I actually think I am incapable of doing multiple things at one time.
How? You're writing, editing. Your brain is working on so many things at once, even when you're writing, I would think.
Yes, but I do, but I flip between them. So I can't. Okay, the most stressful thing for me in life is when 2 people are speaking to me at the same time.
Right.
I feel so disrespectful because I can't. I cannot listen to both at the same time.
No, you go and then you go.
Yes, that's not multitasking. That's taking things one thing at a time.
One thing
so
at a time.
I do things one at a time, but I cannot work on something. I can't listen to music when I'm writing.
Really?
No, because I start
writing the music.
Well, the music, like if it's sad, may affect the. I don't like it. I can only focus on one thing at a time.
So this is your full-time thing now. This is you.
Yes.
Twisted Comics is absorbs every part of your free life.
Yes.
It's
apart from my animals, which I look after.
Okay.
Those are my children.
It's interesting. It's interesting how you got your start and how far you've come in 12 years. And to be honest with you.
Oh, thank you.
And to me, that's one of the things I love most about comics, and I love most about having this channel is I get the chance to talk to someone like you. If I didn't have this channel, and I'll be honest with you, our interviews are probably the lowest views out of anything we publish on YouTube, because I don't. This is like you said, you do things for yourself that you like. This is what I like. I love doing interviews. Our biggest sellers on YouTube is if I go to a comic book convention and I talk about what I bought at the comic convention, I'll get 2,000 views on that. Plus, I do this interview, I'll get 200 views.
Interesting.
Which I still to this day can't figure out, because this is what interests me, because I will sit on YouTube and watch interviews, if Todd McFarlane interviews, and I love old Jack Kirby interviews. I love when comic book people talk about comic books.
Yeah, I love watching those documentaries about, I don't know, Grant Morrison or
I love those documentaries. I watch every comic book documentary I could possibly, get.
Can you recommend one for me? Because I'm delighted with this whole conversation.
There's a Jack Kirby one that's really good about his thing. And did you see the original how Image Comics gets started? That's a great documentary, how they get started. And a lot of it's on YouTube, and it's Todd McFarlane interviews have amazed me for a good part of the last 5 or 6 years. His view on how comic books and how business work are amazing to me.
Okay, that one I'll start with. I'll start with Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane interviews are just he has such a clear view of what he wants and how he's going to get it.
That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger says. He's like, having a clear vision is the most important thing.
And he takes no for an answer. And you hear about how he started the toy company and how he goes to Toy Fair that one year and he's just like, this is what I'm going to do. And they come to him. And it was just like, wait, you're a comic book writer. How are you selling toys now? Think about that. Think about Todd McFarlane as an example. He's a comic book writer, and then one day he has a multi-million-dollar toy company. How does that happen? Shouldn't. And then if you know about Todd McFarlane, he spends millions of dollars on baseballs at some point. Why does he do that? It was all marketing. It was all him getting what he was going to do out there. And he buys those baseballs, and with those baseballs, he gets the license for Major League Baseball, and he makes Major League Baseball figures. And then he goes from there and he does. I mean, think about Todd McFarlane as who he was and who he is now.
Okay, that's what I'm watching. Great. I have even less free time now, thanks to you.
You're welcome. And I just wasted an hour of your life, so on here.
No, this is great. I got this out of it. This is great.
So what can we look for you?
Yes, now? Black Mirror. It's coming out Kickstarter. Everyone should go.
Tell us about the Kickstarter. How can people get on the Kickstarter?
So if you go to blackmirrorcomics.com,
and the link will be in the description of the show, so you can just click on it.
Okay, perfect. Look, I think it's going to be incredible. The quality of print and what we're doing with it, and the extras are really spectacular. And some of the final tiers we haven't nailed down yet. One of them unfortunately got pulled because, to be fair to the rights holders, they had an opportunity to make millions elsewhere using a similar type of thing. So fine, okay. But it's still, if I'm not a collector really,
right?
You are going to get something that the quality is special, and you have unique things as well. You can be drawn into USS Callister, and I wish I could tell you because we haven't got the yes yet for one of the thing that's truly technologically groundbreaking. To wait to consume with comic, technologically, never been done before, but we haven't got the approval for it yet. But maybe in a week's time, so we'll see.
So listen, if you ever need a YouTuber for one of your Twisted comics or anything.
Dude, I'd love it to send. Oh, you don't do single. I don't have Twisted Dark and single. You know what? I do have one of these stories because this was a Kickstarter we did.
I'd love to read it.
I have a whole stack of books that I had to sign, so they're all like signed here with my name on it. I'll post those out. I can post it to you if you email me your address. I'll post you a copy, and love you to review it and see what you think.
That'd be great. Yeah. Now, do you have of the? Can you share any images of the Callister stuff yet, or no?
I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Find out and let me know, because I would like to do something to help promote the interview by doing like a short or something with the Callister pictures.
I will make an action to find out if I can. Kenny, can I share? Can I share? Perfect.
And before we go, just tell us where people can see you coming up. So I know you said you're going to be doing some appearances. So just where can people come over and buy Twisted comics? I'm assuming you sell them at the table where you are. So where are you going to be in the next couple of months?
Actually, next couple of months, I'm not going to be much anywhere because I've got my summer holidays have started for my kids, so I've got to hang out with them. But I'll be at New York Comic Con. Always there. Always at Seattle. Always at Chicago. And I'm in the UK and doing various conventions around Europe. But
you don't do San Diego though?
I have tried so many times to get in there. I don't get in. I need someone on the inside to get me in. I tried WonderCon like 2 years ago, and for the first time in a decade, we lost money at a convention. Really? We lost like $3,000, so I thought it's not worth doing WonderCon.
Really?
Yeah.
We have a couple of big ones here besides New York. In Mohegan Sun, there is Terrificon, which is a big convention for us here. That's a great show. Big names go to that too. If you've never heard of it.
I haven't. The biggest one in Europe is MCM London.
Right.
They do it twice a year. I think 200,000 people turn up for it. People come from all Right?
Really?
It's the European cosplay finals. There's a massive cosplay competition happening, and that's always great for us. That's where we sell. That and Seattle are our best conventions.
Seattle. What's the Seattle convention?
Emerald City.
Emerald City. Yeah, it's
It's my
just
favorite cutest one.
it's funny. I was in Seattle last August for something. We ended up going to the oldest comic book store in the world is in Seattle.
I have their card right here.
I have a sticker somewhere on this. Oh yeah, Golden Age card right here. There's a sticker.
That's the one. Yeah,
right here.
yellow and black.
They were wonderful, man. The guy that owns it, the people running it were fantastic people. But we weren't there during Emerald City. We were actually passing through there, and I would love to go to Emerald City one day. But I will be at New York Comic Con also, so I'll definitely come over and say hello.
Cool. I like that very much.
Yeah.
Just be aware. I do have a sign that I wear at Comic Cons that I have a slight condition where I don't remember faces very well.
Okay.
So if you say Chad from, I'll go, oh yeah, cool.
Okay.
But if you just turn up and say hi, Neil, I probably won't recognize you.
See, I have a strange thing the other way. I cannot forget a face, and I forget names. Like I'll know somebody from there, but I will have no idea where I know them from. But I will, and it happens to me all the time in my life. It's awful. Like I know you from somewhere, and now that we have the channel, people actually recognize me and my daughter who does a show sometimes, like when we're out and about at shows, and it's very like I know you, but I don't know you from where. So. But thank you for spending time with us. Really,
thank you for having me more. This was a lot. Fun. I love that we're off topic and just talk about.
Yeah, that's what I love about these interviews. It doesn't always have to be about comics. It's about life and how we got here. But I'm gonna end the recording now. But I want to show you something before we go. Let me just end.